Hey everyone, hope you're doing well out there. In this episode, I sat down with Hoosier. He's a rapper, videographer, and graphic designer from Louisville, Kentucky. We discussed his new album, Main Character Syndrome, his favorite directors, and we may have came up with a brilliant idea for an app that combines the proximity feature of Snapchat Maps and Spotify. So with that being said, here's Hoosier.
Like the cool thing about the run and gun videos is kind of like as a videographer, like I don't have to think too much. You know what I'm saying? Like I really don't have to think too much, but I can still be in the moment of like what I'm doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of like if you're on a set and like there are certain things you have to do, it's like you're kind of set to a certain I guess idea, you know, and like you said, it's the freedom that you get as the videographer to just be like, here, let's just go try this shit, like let's do this or let's go do that, and I think that's really cool. It's like just being able to, a lot of times just have creative control of what you're doing, and I think that's cool for the videographers, especially because they get a little bit more shine now in today's time, but like that wasn't always a thing.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
it's
it's
just
cool.
a part of the crew, whatever.
Yeah.
It's who's on the screen that always gets it, and
Right.
that's fine. But I mean, it depends on what you want as a videographer. But it's about the artist. You got to
Yeah, it's
realize
true.
as a videographer, it's about your client, your artists. It's about them, and so putting yourself any part of that picture is just not really fair to
No,
the artist. I feel
and
like.
that's true. That's definitely true. I guess it's just like it's like being a producer, right?
Yeah.
It's like the beat is kind of what is sometimes carrying the song.
Oh yeah, that's like half of it almost. Pretty
Right?
much,
So
yeah.
it's like whenever you hear that, if you Metro don't trust you, I'ma shoot you. It's just like a reminder that
Yeah.
hey, like these producers exist, like
Yeah, exactly.
and they actually put in work. And to be honest, there's a whole different conversation. But a lot of those producers are using like 8 producers, just to be honest. But like shit, even that's just what happens when you get bigger. But like as videographers, it's like yeah, I guess saying we is weird to me, but like, cause I identify as a rapper, but like, we deserve some shine too, like in a local level, at a higher level as well. It's not just 1 or 2 people that shoot music videos out here. It's a lot of them. A lot of people doing it. So
Yeah, and they'll just do it under one name, and because like they just have like a close knit team of people, and yeah, that's how that's really a key of like success is whether it's music, you're performing artist, or your videographer, whatever you're doing, audio engineer. It's great to have like a team of people who have your back, who can, especially as an artist. Oh my gosh, because so much is asked of you. 50 years ago, artists were asked to make music. Today, it's like, okay, well, you have to make music, but you also have to be a social media manager, a videographer, a photographer, and all these things.
Oh, don't forget you got a 9 to 5 too.
Yeah, and you also have to have an actual job. While you're doing it.
You gotta be if you're a parent or
Yeah,
a brother
or a parent at the same time.
You gotta be a human being too.
Right, and so it's like if I'm going to make art and try to promote myself, I have to be all these other things as well. Like that's usually a team of people who are responsible for it.
Yeah.
But the idea is, you do it all yourself at first, and then you can eventually have people join the team, and intimately how that job needs to be done because you did it yourself.
True.
And so you can help out whoever is helping you out in a way.
That's very true.
Yeah,
sure.
so that's definitely something we all aim for. But your most recent promo pays homage to The Truman Show. I mean, what inspired you to create this connection, and how do you think the themes of that film resonate with you?
So for me, The Truman Show is like one of the like best movies of all time. It's especially like one of the best Jim Carrey performances of all time. Just because like for me, I think everyone kind of has like alluding to like my single name and album name, like everyone kind of has like a main character syndrome, at least a little bit. You kind of have to. Like if you're in your body, like you kind of have to feel like well, this is my life. You know what I'm saying? This is my story. So like, for me, that show kind of, or that movie, I mean, was like kind of like I relate to it because for me, I take that main character syndrome and kind of like with mixed with like anxiety and like you know the social anxiety presence how I fit into my brother's life, my girlfriend's life, my mom's life, like how I fit into all these people's life. It's I like I'm very much the like my own main character, but you know it's hard to realize sometimes that you are the side character in these other people's life. But like it doesn't always feel that way, you know.
Yeah.
So like for the Truman Show specifically, he is for people that don't know, he's I'd rather really you watch the movie, but pretty much he's a guy stuck on a very large TV set and doesn't know that his life is a TV show. Um, and for me, the way I related is like me kind of, I guess, realizing that I kind of am in a TV show, you know, kind of am my own main character, you know, and like what kind of comes with that. And I think even more related to the album. Matter of fact, I'll just wait till we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, that's how I kind of related it to.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's interesting that touching back to the single main character. So that song's meaning kind of derives from one's view of oneself as like the main character of their own story, but part of like a bigger narrative outside of it all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And could you expand more on like what that song is about, that the song main character, and there's certain moments in that where you know you're pretty vulnerable with the audience, but then you're back to you know being confident, and I'm curious about what the creation of that song was really inspired by and what the narrative really tells there.
So I'll start off with the beat. Like,
Okay.
if you heard the song, the beat has like a sample, or it's like a splice sample. It's not like a real song or anything, but well, I guess it is. But it's like, you know, I want you to be mine all along. So like when I heard that, my only thought was like, oh, the beat's like talking to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is literally like kind of giving me a reason to talk about myself like to the fullest extent, you know. And I guess really what that song is about is like I say a line like trying to keep my niggas off the block, ganging them will do it when it's hot. My again, it's about like my placement in people's life. You know, it's like about what role am I like do I play? Like I even say in the song, like, did I do my duties as a man? Did I follow? You know, it's like me kind of being reflective on like the role I'm playing in my life, but in also my people's life. Like, what am I doing to either make their life better? What am I doing to make my life better? What am I giving out the right messages, or am I even like really, I guess, connecting with them on a deeper level to where they can understand like where I'm coming from, you know, or where I can see where they're coming from, you know. So that song is pretty much just about that. It's just like being in my body and being on this earth and understanding that I have a role to play, you know, and trying to figure that out pretty much.
Yeah, it is a really cool perspective. Just like know, like everybody is the main character of their own story, but in the greater narrative, what role do you play in everybody else's story? Because in everybody else's story, they're the main character as well. And it would very cool, like exploring like maybe some stories that like where people aren't their own main character.
Right.
You know, there's whole cultural, you know, ideologies. You know, like in the East, you know, they have more of a group mindset, you know, and what affects me or what I do affects everybody.
Right.
And so it'd be interesting, to kind of dive into that. Like, and, but it is really poignant how you create that narrative here in the United States, because like it is super true that everybody does see themselves like that, and we all
Instagram.
do. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
right.
you
And
know,
so you are the main character, but it is really important to know like how you do affect other people's lives, and that kind of goes into kind of stoicism, how you try to be as mindful as possible of like first the first thing you kind of taught to think is like, how does you existing at all negatively affect other people in the world in ways you don't think of. Like when you go get gas and you go to the gas station, like, are you inconveniencing anybody on your way to there and getting it and coming back to your car, and or holding, like when you could have just held somebody up in line who was like late to work and needed gas. And it's like, or if you're the guy getting lotto tickets in the front of the line, someone's late for work behind you but needs gas to go. It's like just small things you don't think about. That, and so it is important, I think, for you to put that perspective out there, and because people get too lost in the idea of them being the main character, but forget like how important that they're a part of everybody else's story as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love that. And I love that you put that perspective out there. Circling back to your influence in film, I'm curious of some of your favorite directors and maybe some scenes that you love, certain films that really stand out to you, that have really influenced and stuck with you over the years.
Okay, let's see. I keep wanting to say Christian Bale, but not Christian Bale. Why am I drawing a blank? I'll skip him. M. Night Shyamalan. I like him. I honestly like Jordan Peele as a director too. Like, I think he's done pretty well since he started coming out. I can't remember who I just watched American Psycho. Last night. I've watched it before already, but I just watched it again. Which does has Christian Bale in it.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite movies too, because it's such a. I know this isn't necessarily the question you asked, but it's such a like. It seems like it's satire, but like. It's not supposed to be scary, but the idea is like thriller, serial killer, psychological movie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like really just a look at like, look into the life of like rich people. Like, and like the surface level thinking that they do, you know what I'm saying? And I can't generalize all rich people. I don't know that many rich people, but just like that was kind of the look on it. And one of the scenes in there, he kills this guy named Paul Allen, and he kills him with an axe, right? And he fucks him up, but like he has it's like this scene where it's just like a profile shot of him, and it's like blood all over his face, and he's like looking wild. You know what I'm saying? There's also another funny ass scene in that movie, because the movie's actually pretty funny, where this girl. This movie sounds dark. It is, but there's this girl that like escapes from his room because he had just like killed this other girl or whatever, and she's running, and like. She's trying to get out the house and shit. Like, she's fumbling, and like she finally finds the door. But when she finds the door, like he pops up and he has a chainsaw. And dude is like butt naked with some like Air Monarchs on, and like it starts running after her through the hallways and shit. It's just funny as shit. But another good ass movie I like, which is fucking the director I was trying to say at first. Also like, I'm so over the place, but before I forget his name, Quentin Tarantino, dope guy. Little racist, but dope guy for sure. But Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies as well, if not my favorite movie of all time. Can you please help me on who direct
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher fucking Nolan? Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, yes. I like him as a because he did Inception as well, which is also a great movie.
Incredible.
But I like him as well. Have you watched any A24 films? I'm sure you have on purpose or accident.
I tried to. Yeah, I tried to watch as many as I can.
They have you seen Moonlight?
I have. Oh my
It's a great movie.
God! I watched that years ago. That was like quite
old
a
movie.
oh my
It's
gosh,
a really good movie.
So
Made me
good.
cry for sure.
Me too. My God, it was powerful.
Yeah,
So good.
Yeah, no, definitely. One of my favorite scenes from that is when, it's like the fucking cover art for this shit, but where he's like at the beach and like the lights reflecting on him and stuff, like shit like that's why I like film, because like the storytelling you can do without saying a word, it's like, but yeah, that's kind of like, I don't know, I just be all over the place with movies. I like, have you seen Akira?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I watched that not too long ago. Fucking great ass movie.
Yeah.
Like, I just love movies, bro. Like, what's another good director? Let's see. We got who did do you know the movie Taxi Driver?
I know it, but I
You don't
Spike Lee. He
No,
didn't do it,
no.
I don't know who
It
did
has
Taxi Driver.
Al Pacino in it.
Oh no, or no, I
It
don't know.
has it's an old movie. It's like 1980s.
I only know Scarface from Al Pacino.
So he's, and I may be wrong. No, it's not Al Pacino. It's fucking played in a bunch of mob movies, bro.
I'm not so sure. I know the very first on those.
Not De Niro. Not Rob. No, it is Rob De Niro.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Rob De Niro. Yeah, it's a movie about like this taxi driver who like kind of just like gets tired of like living this like mundane life and just decides to do some like crazy shit. So like he like I guess kind of gets close with this prostitute or whatever, and like kind of goes on this like weird like personality like split. It's not like what's the word, bipolar or nothing like crazy, like where it's like super left field, but he just like starts to change into like this guy that just wants to protect this prostitute for whatever reason. And like I'm not gonna give away the end, but like I don't know, you should watch that movie.
I should.
too,
Yeah, that's the only one I hadn't seen from your list. I watched American Psycho for the first time this year.
Really.
Yeah, and it's definitely comedy. Yeah, like almost throughout. I mean, it has like moments of like this is kind of dark, and then but in the end, it was just clever, funny. Just I think it's just I would just name that whole. I would just put it under the genre of dark humor.
Yeah.
Because it's dark because of obvious reason, but it's mainly it oftentimes you kind of feel like them looking into the camera and be like. Yeah, it's like you see this guy. Yeah. The scene with the business cards is perfect. That's my favorite scene from the movie because it's just like that's the surface level emotion stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, there's like so much going on in this film, but like this is the most tense scene of them all somehow. Even like over the murder and stuff, this is the most tense scene.
Yeah, that movie's top tier for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to talk about the Happy Bureau.
Okay.
So this is the group that who started that group?
So I started it like as a way to like promote my friends essentially. And I mean, that would pretty much be the basis of that.
Got you. So the members are yourself, Kuda Baby, and Jet Baby Dada?
Yeah, more or less.
There's like some honorary people. Those are the main ones I've seen on there.
Yeah.
I got you. So this is the group's the idea behind the group is to just promote the three of you guys as well as Coach Cam as well. And there I'm sure he does most of the production for the three of you all.
Yeah. So look, I have a good moment of like vulnerability and honesty. So like, God, these things are so hard to like keep up and without a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I said, the general idea was like, I'm gonna like promote my friends and like, do it in a way that's like, you know, uh, collectively, like our, us, because
Mm-hmm.
we already like essentially moved that way anyway, So I kind of created it with that in mind, just to create a place where, shit, like if there are fans of us or whatever, they can all come to this place and see all of our shit
Mm.
and see all the cool shit that we do. But like I said, it's just hard to keep up with that type of thing. So it's like, it's kind of loosey goosey. I'll be honest with you, but I think all of us are pretty like solidified within our own individual careers and relationships outside of it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like, it doesn't necessarily like become this thing where it's like, oh my god, like we're pushing Happy Bro to the moon. Like we're gonna promote each other
Mm.
regardless. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like we just
Just
pretty much
some extra
we
help.
grew up together. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So like that shit is just like, all right, let's figure out a way we can connect and to all these other people as a group.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
Absolutely. Could we s- could we see maybe in the future like a release under Happy Bureau name, or
I would love that.
you love that?
Yeah, I would love to do that for
I,
sure.
I saw that you all are having a show where you are a collective act
Yeah.
together, the Happy Bureau, and that's happening in Lexington at Girls Burritos, right?
Yeah.
And that's the 30th?
31st.
31st.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I've performed at Girls before, and
How is it?
it's a good spot.
Yeah.
Really good food, and like the stage is pretty big, and it's not, it's like it's pretty close to the floor, so it's not like a weird.
Yeah.
I always like no stages kind of shows more than like this big separation between like
Right.
the audience, because it's like, especially a barrier show,
Yeah.
like you could just completely disassociate and just pretend the audience is not there at that point. And it's
Yeah,
like it
thanks.
kind of, it feels impersonal at that point.
See, I'm gonna step down. I'm gonna get
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gonna step down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think I saw you do that for a show you performed at Headliners.
Yeah.
Where you're like, screw the stage, I'm with the audience, and they loved it. You know, they're like, yes, that because
Yeah.
it feels, like a separation. It's like I want to be there with the people who came out to see
Right.
me.
Especially if there's not that many people. Like, there's no reason for me to be, not 30 feet, but like 20 feet, in proximity away from y'all. Like
That's true too.
When I can
If
just
the
be-
audience is maybe a bit smaller or something, then
yeah.
that is true as well.
Let me-
Then it's like I might as well be with you all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bring
exactly.
it. Let's bring it. Let's make it personal. Shit, there's only 20 y'all here anyway. Shit, come on.
That's a good point as well. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more from Happy Bureau, and I think more people should do this. I think it's a great idea. Just have just something else to help you all, like the group, your group of close knit friends, and it's like we're all creatives. We might as well do something to help each other,
Right.
and just have just another platform. And for people to engage with, and because I see it with social media, I see it in YouTube and stuff. There's like people who I really support on social media, or like artists or whomever, and creators on YouTube. And sometimes like it's real. Like I will like subscribe, follow, whatever, and be like turn on notifications, like let me know when you drop something, and then I don't see it in my feed because the algorithm
Yeah.
somehow misses it. And there was a creator on YouTube who I was like, I really want to lock in with this person. And so I've turned on notifications, everything. And then months go by and I think of it like, I haven't seen much from that creator. I guess he just
Yeah.
hasn't posted anything. That's weird. I guess he's on hiatus. Go to his page, 5 new videos.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man. And so
Yeah.
it's the same with social media. And it happens with shows. I'll have a friend who's like, I posted the show like 3 times. What do you mean? I'm like, I'm on social media every now and then. I'm on a lot, and I never saw it. Like, what the heck? And so it's always good to have another page too. So it could be you, Happy Bureau, and all of the people who are part of that. They all post the flyer. It's going to get out to more and you have to these days because everybody else is doing it as well. Because like the bigger artists, they have all sorts of pages just to post like for shows because you have to. You have to flood the market because everybody else is doing it.
That's how you break an artist now,
Yeah.
You can get an Ice Spice and like her music might be what it is or whatever, but if you can get 30 TikTok meme pages or whatever to post it and get it in people's ear, whether it's force fed or not, that's how it works.
Yeah, it just takes for real. With TikTok, it has become the Wild West, where like TikTok, I think, still to this day, from what I understand, still gives everybody a really decent chance to get out there. You know, I had friends who were like, "Yeah, I got 1 million views on this or something," just out of nowhere. Everything else tanked, but like that video right there is crazy.
I would say that's true too.
Yeah, and so it seems like it's just like a Wild West situation where you do have a chance. You know, where it is like on YouTube, it's really hard to break through on YouTube. Like it's not like they throw you into the stream of like, it seems like in TikTok they throw you into the stream, and because like I'll we'll flip around and we'll see ones with like 0 comments, 0 views, and it's like, oh, this person got thrown to me, and so it's seeing what my engagement is like. It like throws testers out there. It's like, did X amount of people like react to this, or did they stay on it? How was the retention rate on this?
Right.
And if it passes like a certain tier, then it gets bumped up to a bigger stream, and it gets bumped up. So whatever video you have, that's why the first like 1 second of videos have to be like super engaging. They have to be like in your face. That's why people so often start video with like the cross dissolve. What's up, everybody? So you're like, oh, hey, and then you have to, or leave them hanging or something, or put like the best part of your 15-second clip in the first 2 seconds, and then start it from the beginning again.
It'll be like a tagline of like, not a tagline, but like, the catch line. It would be like, Kevin Hart breaks his neck on the basketball floor, and then the whole video would be about like, I don't know, Kevin Hart like dropping a new stand up or some shit or whatever, just like reactionary shit. But yeah, it's weird that I'm kind of like understanding that you like what you're saying in a way that like they don't do that on like streaming shit really. Like, say for instance, like how you can just run across some shit on TikTok, right?
Oh, shit.
Like you can run across some shit on Spotify.
But you have to choose it still.
But it's more.
It's not Pandora.
It's based on what you already like kind of listen to, and a lot of those artists are kind of already in that algorithm. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like you like Sarah Kinsley, she's an indie artist. Okay, you like her, you're definitely gonna like Claro. Like, you're definitely gonna like Be By Doobie or whatever. Like, it's like, but they're not gonna like give you somebody that's here. You know what I'm saying? Necessarily, it's more about like, all right, if you're within this realm of, I guess, popularity already with people, like, and people like this music, and you make this music, then yeah, here you go. Like we'll give you more popular artists like this. But as far as like local shit, like you're not really about to. They don't really do that. Like, I think Apple Music kind of can do it, but not really in a good way. Like,
yeah, you just gave me some ideas. I was like, yeah, it's a really. It's kind of an obvious thing they're missing. Like Spotify has like what they call Spotify radios, but it's really just a playlist of whatever artist or whatever this theme is.
Curated playlist.
It's all playlists, and they have the AI DJ that's like, hey, what's up? But it's just a playlist that's playing off of, and so it would be neat to have real live radio that people could not only tune into, but tune into together and see that other people are tuned into that Spotify radio, and it could be Spotify Louisville. They call it Spotify Louisville.
You're making
everybody hops in and they see other people are in there, and they can comment, or they can at least like react or something. Like, comments might be a bit. Spotify's like, I don't want to get into that mess, but you could say hearts or like thumbs up or thumbs down or whatever want to do, and you could do emotes on there. But that would be something that would, because people would tune into that. What's on the Spotify Louisville, and it's live all the time. There was this like during COVID, there was this company who, and I forget their name. It has duck in the name, but they created a live radio kind of service where it's a live service, but it's only audio. And you went to the website, and there would be podcasts, interviews, journalism footage, or whatever, what have you. But it would be live audio, and it was kind of like Snapchat, to where once the live session was done, and people join the session together, and they're able to comment. And some people could even join the audio with their own audio. But once it's over, like Snapchat is gone. It would just poof, disappear. But of course, people would record it or whatever. But like that's how the service was. It's like it made it fleeting. So it's like, oh, there's a live audio event happening. I want to join it because once it's over, I can't like listen to it as a podcast later. I just have to join, and I can join myself. Right. And you feel like you're a part of this live event. And it was like a big thing on its own, and it was sold as like a product within itself. But it ended up being just a tool, and the company, because other companies ended up incorporating that into their own websites. So Twitter made it Spaces. And Reddit made it into rooms, I believe, where people can just join in. It's like audio, and you can just and so Twitter pretty much took it, and that company just went under, and they just took the idea and made a feature on their website. But that would be something like, because people still engage in like Twitter Spaces or whatever, because they're popular, they like the idea. It could be something on Spotify as well with music.
See, that's the thing, and that's where it gets kind of tricky, because I believe, like, to a certain extent, I think we're headed that way. But I think it might be Spotify that does it. It might be Apple Music. It might be both. It might just be the record labels in general. But, the live concert thing, like the virtual concert, they did that they kind of did it on Fortnite.
Yeah.
I think it was with Esther, or was that actually live? I think that was, or was it recording?
It was pre-canned. Yeah. It was recorded, but it was a live event, and then once it's over, it's over. Right. And the only way you could watch it is, if you watched a recorded version of somebody else's screen. But it was the idea is like you attend it, and then it's over. So you can't attend it. There's not a replay on this.
Right. Which like I think that's cool. I think it will be dope. I will say, like, my only issue with like stuff like that, to a certain extent, it's like, we get that I guess you can call it an advantage as an artist to a certain extent, or it'd be something that would help us, but it also might hurt the like live, real in-person aspect of things. Maybe not though. But I do like the idea of like Spotify, like having these radio stations for like the state, the city, like that would be a cool app to make. Like, where it's just like, okay, like you can listen into like the top 5 regions of music within these states, right? So it might be Lexington, fucking Louisville, Bowling Green, I don't know. Just other places, that are within the state, and the top 5, I guess, that put out music or whatever. It could get a little muddy.
It could be, and you'd think then it's like, well, how does it choose which music to play? Right. But it could be I'd imagine if I was in charge, I would make it a mix of factors. Factor 1 would be how many people are engaging with this artist from this one city. Factor 2 would be how recently did they upload this track. So if it's very new, then that would be like up in the points, because it would be new released music.
Can I ask you a question based on your first point? Are we basing engagement based on like what? Like Spotify listeners people have, or like, because that can be faked.
Engagement would
Everything
be,
can be fake, really, but
active listeners and followers and playlist ads recently.
That's a good
So playlist ads within a certain window of time, not all time playlist ads. And I think maybe that window of time should just be maybe for the listeners, I may still do it all time, because there would be like, you'd hear like who's an old Nappy Roots or something pops on. You're like, yeah, they're Louisville. I forgot that. That's cool. But also, you don't want to have I also don't want it to extend out and like have My Morning Jacket and stuff on there playing like full bunch of where it's like you're starting adding bigger artists that are taking over the local artists.
Right.
So you could maybe have two separate ones or just have different rules where you have a good balance of like, yeah, you hear the new Hoosier song and then you hear like a My Morning Jacket song. Right. And then it kind of has a balance between and you could have the algorithm trained to do that. It's like, okay, yeah, My Morning Jacket has like millions of listeners. Right. And then another local artist who has like maybe a bit less than that they could balance. So it's like, it's always like high up, but they have the contributing factors if they have listeners from Louisville and the artist says they're from Louisville. So that would also be another factor. Definitely. Would be the location the location of the listener who is listening to the artist as well, because then that would be an easy way to rule out any fake streams or fake follows. Proximity listens, because that would rule out your fake clicks and streams immediately.
That's dope though. Like with like as an artist would say, I know we're like curating like an idea on the podcast, but like as an artist, like, okay, is this like a situation where maybe we submit our music, or is it just like already within the system and like we can I guess the app or whatever just picks what's already in the system? Because like you could like the proximity listens could go pretty deep, just depending on like how much we're like you would locate people. I guess like motherfucker could put in their zip code, like, and like you could find artists that are within your zip code. Like, say you live in fucking Middletown, right? And there's like 100 artists coming out of Middletown, and you're like listening to what's new around you. You know what I'm saying? Like
that would be interesting, and that would be So what you're describing would be, so first of all, to answer the question, if I was in charge, I would not have submissions, because that only gets bad. Yeah, and it only it ends up the people with the most resources, whatever it is, usually get to the front of the line. And so the idea is to make it fair enough for anybody with like brand new Spotify account, just released today, they get on it just because they released today and they're from Louisville. Right. But as far as like making it proximity relative to the user, then that changes things. It does. But that could be a different radio station. That would be interesting. So that would be a personalized radio station, or because like you'd have to make individual ones for every like small place within like 50-mile radius or 20-mile radius. Yeah, for sure. And then it would be a ton of radio stations that people go into. So maybe they could be like big ones, but I imagine it'd just be Louisville initially is the big one, and then maybe you could do Louisville East Side, Louisville West Side, but also you don't want to like segregate music or anything, or like say anybody. It'd be like this radio station's good because the West Side's only got the good music, or the South Side's only got good music. But I do like the idea. That's kind of cool of if artists, when you submit to distribution services, there's only so you are putting in a bunch of information, but you're only putting so much in. Yeah. So I don't think you're putting things like zip code and distribution services. They know like your billing address most likely, because you're getting if you're doing direct deposit that way. But let's just say they do know, and that's good. But I'm saying like if they don't know, then there would be something that artists would have to opt into or just add. It's like add like a zip code of like what they say this music belongs to this zip code, and that would be something that you'd see in DistroKid at the bottom, like Spotify has this new feature, and if you add your zip code, blah blah blah. But let's just say they just know. Yeah, and they just know. I feel
like that might be better though. Anyway,
if they just know the proximity chat would be proximity radio would be cool idea, and you'd be able to tap into it, but you'd know where it would be like Snap Maps. Yeah. Where you're on Snap Maps and you can see and you press on, you can see Snapchats from that specific small area. It would be like that, but with music that's created in that area. And you could hear music that's like made in your neighborhood. Yeah, that's on Spotify. And you'd be like, what? The guy down the street's on Spotify?
Yeah.
What the heck? And bro, let's collab. I fuck with you. You DM him. I'm like, I literally live down the street and I fuck with your music. Can we collab? I got a studio. And he's like, I got a studio. And you're like, let's go.
It is a great way to like meet artists and like listen to what is around you. How do you, I guess there's no point in me asking this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you weed out like bad artists?
You don't.
Like
you listen to them and you're like, I like it.
Yeah.
People will always upload music that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
But some people will love that. Some people love the music that you hate. But bad artists just
it's so subjective. I know I said that, but
but I see what you're saying.
And
but you just wouldn't. It just wouldn't. It's like
even artists that like don't even like. Maybe you have to get like, let's say you're an artist, you have to get verified or something. Like, because some people don't really care enough about their craft to have the privilege, not to say they don't deserve it, but like to have the privilege of like necessarily people around them just being able to freely go listen to them. Like, bruh, if you're just on but you know what? I'm going to go back to what you said though, based on the listeners, based on the,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess bad art, if they have traction, it's not bad to some people. So
it could be there's a grindcore band that lives down the street or like a black metal band down the street and you're like, boy, I'm not a fan of this. But it's like, it would show up in your local, but it turns out they're just really big in Norway. They just get a lot of streams in Norway and they're like, we just do really well like that. And it's like, all right.
So maybe we'll talk about it off camera, but
we'll hit up Spotify and we'll let them know we got something for them.
Get some coders and shit. Yeah.
Absolutely, incorporating snap maps into Spotify with music. That's an elevator pitch. Snap maps, but with Spotify music. That's all you got to say. That'll be good. Yeah, good idea. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about your music does touch a bit on philosophy, and of course we just talked about main character and being aware of yourself but how you affect others. So I wanted to ask, what kind of philosophy do you live by, and how does it approach your approach to music and to life?
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm kind of a free-spirited guy. I kind of didn't always live by the philosophy of like treat people how you want to be treated. Like just like going through the things that I went through, but I would say now I kind of live by just like be kind, bro. Like be nice to people, spread good energy, because at the end of the day, like we're only in our bodies like as this is like our vessel, this is just all it is, and all we're doing in life is essentially learning lessons for our soul. You know what I'm saying? For us to like take with us when we pass on. It's like, okay, we learned this lesson so we could heal in whatever way. You know what I mean? So like now I just like I try to move with that kind of in mind, that everyone's kind of healing from something. Everyone's going through something or has been through something. So like I think the best way to live is just like spread as much good energy as you can. Try to be nice to people. Do your best to stay alive. Try to keep people around you alive.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times not even a lot of times, literally, this is the way capitalism thrives, at least in our country, is based on people surviving, and I think people grow super tired while they're surviving. People grow weary, and people kind of lose elements of themselves, and people kind of sometimes feel the need to, kill themselves and things of that nature. I think because of what we are subjected to every single day and the chaos that just goes on in our life, I think if we can and I try to do this in my life, and I'm not the best at it, but if we can maintain our relationships with our friends, our family, and even just like creating new ones with strangers, you know what I mean? Like, just by being genuine and being nice and being kind to people, treating people the way you want, to be treated. It's like that's kind of what I live by, and I try to spread that through my music.
Yeah, shouts out to the golden rule.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was wondering, in your opinion, is there a universal truth to all art? In some way, is it trying to express this truth? Like, how do you capture or convey that truth in your work?
So the question is there a universal truth within art itself?
Right. Is there a universal truth that in all art in some way is trying to express?
Of course. I think shit from the beginning of music, like from what was that like? That was like the first thing people damn near did was create music with their mouth or the objects around them. It's like whether people know it or not. Like I've seen some like comments where people just like music is dead and streaming era and all that. It's like no, music will never die. It's like the universal language. Like
absolutely,
somebody here can like some shit that's in China, and somebody in China can like some shit that's from here, and it's like it's that is the universal truth. This is our language. Is the way we've always been able to get messages across that we couldn't say with words, with straight up conversation, I say it like that. And I think, like I said, in my music, it's like, that's why I want to like kind of let people know, like, hey, like, shit, I'm a regular dude. Like, I relate to you, or you can relate to me. Or even if we don't relate, shit, like, at the bare minimum, we're both human at this bitch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're both just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think, that's just like the universal language is music. That is exactly what it is for sure.
Yeah, it's been mentioned a few times on here, but Jordan Brooks and I talked about how he said it doesn't matter like in the language of the music. It does show that how universal it is. You can hear music, no lyrics. There's nobody on it. You can tell the intention by the person behind the instrument or behind who's writing it.
Thanks.
And I love, how advanced art's gotten to the point where you can know that's going to happen, perceive how your music will be interpreted, and use that to your advantage. One example I love using is Kendrick Lamar's Swimming Pools.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Really good.
Yeah,
it's on its surface, it's a party song, but it really is the opposite of that. And so it's really cool to see how artists have not only, come aware of how their song appears and then hiding certain artifacts within that for people to find who really dive into the song. And so it's like not just the first listener, second listener, third listen, and, people really got into this idea, as soon as we were able to make art digitally or make music digitally instead of analog, because like we wouldn't have to like throw the tape away if we messed up. And it's because I feel like such a waste, and if we had to edit something, you had to clip the tape and then tape it back together, splice it back together, and I love that's how like on some DAWs like Logic, it'll show if you look at it like from back, you're like, oh, it's a tape reel, like the stem is just a tape reel. I love how that looks. But yeah, having artists, hide certain artifacts in their music is just really cool. And like how far people took it, like in the 70s, it's like, if you play it backwards. It's like, if you play it backwards, what? Like, who is doing this?
I think with like the most powerful thing about music, I think, is the layers that comes with it, right? Because, and I think we'll get into this later, but I'll just go ahead and say it now, right? You can have a song like Swimming Pools, right? Where on surface, like you said, it's a party song, and like, it's one of those songs you just like, you feel good when you listen to it. And that's like the feeling that was you're supposed to get. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was to me calculated. Like as an artist, I can see like he knew what he was doing when he made that song, obviously. But you know, when you go to that second level, it's like, oh, okay, this is a song about, you know, peer pressure. You know, this is about trying to fit in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to even some deeper layer where you're like, oh shit, like I've been through this. You know what I'm saying? I've gone through this, and not only is it about peer pressure, but it's also about like, you know, maybe some traumatic experience that might have led you into that. That might be something you relate to because, you know, it's like, oh shit, like I might be drinking too much,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like when you hear the song, you might want to actually drink when you first
Yeah.
listen. But like
Yeah.
on that, like you said, on that third listen, you might be like, I'm going to put the bottle
Yeah,
down. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Like, I think that's like really cool. I think one thing I see in today's music is that it's very surface level. Well, you know, I ain't gonna say today's music. I'll say the music that they push to us,
Yeah.
mainstream. It's very surface level because it's like people get the ideas of like what a rapper is supposed to say. You know what I'm saying? And then they're like, okay, I know what the rapper's supposed to say, or matter of fact, I know what fucking Future says, or I know what Lil Uzi Vert says, or I know how Playboy Cardi raps, you know. So like, shit, let me go try my version of that, and you know, they don't really even dig deeper into production of shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
they won't even like, not to say like getting YouTube beats is just bad, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, but I think if you can help in a certain way build your song up to be what it's supposed to be, you should. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't. I think people are so out of the process where it's like, okay, let me, which is cool too, but like you
Mm-hmm.
can get on your phone and make a song and like you can blow up off of that, and you didn't really put in any like grind, not that you have to grind for every single song that you
Mm-hmm.
make, but like you didn't really put any like real effort to it. Like you just heard a beat, you liked it, you
Yeah.
write whatever the fuck comes to mind from, you know, like I said, listen to fucking Future or whatever, and like you're like, okay, like I'm a rapper now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, technically you are, but like you didn't give us anything to hang on to, you know, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it's like drill music now where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's like the 808s is, you know, loud, and like the the synth is like menacing, and like
Mm-hmm.
the person on the beat is saying like, I just went and killed two people yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
like so did my dog, like he did it, and
Mm-hmm.
then like they'll go snitch after, but like it's like they don't, and this surface level music, like technically there's nothing wrong with saying everything that they're saying. Like it is detrimental. It is like, not divisive, but it can be, just depending on where it's coming from, I guess. But it's more like it's kind of destruction, like in the music, you know, and it's like spreading it to all these kids, young 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds who don't really know any better. You know what I mean? But like, say you're like a Boosie, right? I don't know how tapped in you are with Boosie, but like, you know, he can say damn near the same thing. Like, oh, I just like, you know, me and my homies just did somebody bad, but like he also kind of gives you the perspective of like we're out here and we're poor, like, and
Mm-hmm.
life is really hard, like, and we're just trying to make it any way we can. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Which is again those layers where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you're not just saying that so the next person goes and kills somebody or sells
Mm-hmm.
drugs. You're saying it because this is what you've been through, and this is the life that you may not want anyone else to live. You're just telling your story.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the other shit is like, oh yeah, I popped 3 perks and you know,
Mm-hmm.
like I slid. It's like, okay, so what? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're just making it worse for the next generation of kids that feel like that's cool, because kids always looked up to whoever's famous, essentially, whoever
Yeah.
is making noise or having some type of motion. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that is any kid, anybody ever. So like people don't understand how powerful music really is, you know, when they're making it. They're making it from the standpoint of like it's cool to be this image more than it is like it's cool to like spread some sort of message of my life or something. It don't even have to always be important, but like it's always something negative. You know what I mean? Like you could rap about breakdancing. Like that's what they used to do in the 80s and shit. Like you know, going to the store and random shit. But like you want to talk about that other shit, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the power of words is, you know, heavy, you know.
Yeah, it's real. You know, as we all know, you know, music can inspire people to create life together.
Yeah.
But music can also inspire people to take life together. And
That's true.
Yeah, we've seen it. You know, I've seen it with some of my artists, and in the city, you know, people will listen to a song, and you know, if they're dissing somebody that they love or somebody who had you know was killed, then they'll go and kill that person.
Yeah.
You know, and it really is. It really is a problem. As I think, as you said, you know, just simply, it's just creating a negative vibration, but it's fun, you know, to tap into, and it's dangerous to tap into. So people who are young, you know, really love that because it's something that's just exciting, and they know it's dangerous. They know it's, you know, not it's unorthodox, and they know it's for them specifically. It's for the people that in their crowd, you know. So, and it's popular and big. You know, people who are outside of knowing any of that, you know, listen to it on the radio and be like, yeah, I just listen to that song like when I go to the gym because it gets me pumped up. I love that. He's talking crazy on that song, and I'm feeling crazy when I'm doing it. I love it. And it just stops there for some people, but people who know, they're like, oh my gosh, like there's real, you know, real lives that have been lost because of this song or what manifested this song.
The energy from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like, I think what people kind of also sometimes miss is that your fans go on that journey with you, right? So when we talk about like, you know, insert little, you know, some rapper, right? We talk about, okay, I'm, you know, like you said, I'm about to go slide or whatever. Like you're putting them in the mind of like, if you've ever listened to a drill song, you might be the most innocent person, but right, you hear it and you're like, I feel like killing somebody, I never wanted to kill anybody, but like this makes me feel that way.
I'm on the way to work feeling crazy. What the fuck?
So when you give that, not facts, but when you give somebody who's actually in a position of like this is their reality, and you give them that instead of like, hey, young man, you can make it out. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the energy that they're gonna live with.
It's real for them.
Yeah, exactly.
For you, it's like you get to like change characters while you're in your car on the way to work, but it ends, you know, as soon as you get out of your car. There's like the, you know, you've seen the TikToks like me on my way to my retail job at CVS, and you're just like talking crazy shit, you know, on the way to work. But then when you get out, and then that's where that ends. But for some people, that's some people that it doesn't end there. That's that they live that life every single day, and so it just that is something people ignore.
Yeah, and I think even more importantly too is like when you think about like when you create these layers to your music, what it can do for the person creating it, right? I'll say like somebody like, I'll take 3 artists. You know, you got X, Juice WRLD, and like Mac Miller, right? They're all dead now, of course, which is kind of, when you listen to the music, you know, it makes sense why they're dead. Like, not to say it like that, but like they made shit that was to a certain extent like lower vibrations to be speaking of yourself, even if they're feeling like honest about it, right? Like, for instance, when Juice WRLD says, he has a song called I'll Be Fine, right? Where he's talking about like literally just taking too many drugs, and like his homie being like, you should probably slow down. And he's like, no, I'll be good. Like that's essentially what the song is about, right? How did he die? Like off the drugs. It's like, you're not the artist, even, you know, fuck the fans for a second. Like even as an artist, you have to understand that you're speaking to yourself too. You know what I mean? Like, you're not only just speaking to everyone else. That's why, like, some people in those situations, like, that's their reality too. But like, whenever you speak that shit, that's why they end up dead. Like, that's because you're speaking your death into existence. You're literally bringing it to you. People don't know what manifestation is.
Or as the artist, you're speaking somebody else's death and experience. He's like, you say this because of a feeling you have and you're upset and you say this, but then you put it on the track and it manifests as a song and everybody's listening to it around you and you're like, I got to do this.
Right.
It changes things.
Yeah. And it's definitely fucked up. Even with X, right? He didn't like kill himself or die for drugs, right? But when you look at like the situation, and I ain't gonna speak too much on it, but like, you know, he was kind of, when you listen to his music, he spoke about death a lot. Like, for a person that seemed to be creating such great music, you know what I mean, and like changing a lot of people's lives, you know. He created this like aura around himself that just was negativity. Like, it's good. And I'll say this too, because I'm not like, I don't want to be hypocritical. Like, there's one thing that's kind of like common throughout artists throughout time, right? Is especially great artists, they're all a little bit off the rocker, right? Yeah. They're all a little bit like kind of, you know, Van Gogh cut his fucking ear off, like, and gave, like, you know, everyone's kind of a little weird, you know what I mean, to a certain extent. And I think that does feed the art. I think it does make it kind of better. Like, you don't live a normal ass life and like pretty much do nothing and have no experiences and then go out and create the greatest shit ever, you know? Like, you have to go through some shit. And I think it's like it's kind of a give and take. You have to be able to understand that, you know, I guess whatever pain you're going through or whatever you're giving to the world is a moment in time. You know, it's like, it's not, it doesn't have to be your forever. You know, I think people kind of get caught up in releasing the music based on how they feel, and it's like they think it's there forever, and that's what they feed to the world, and it ends up coming back to them. You know. But yeah, it's music is wild. Yeah,
it is. It certainly is. What role do you think music plays in evolution of human consciousness?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. The evolution.
It seems to be a part of nature, like an intimate part of nature. Because it's easy to first wonder, like, did we make music up? It's just like a human thing, but then you go outside and you hear birds sing,
right?
And you know, you hear just how certain rhythms naturally occur, like rain dropping, like at a certain BPM, like perfectly because of just how gravity works in that exact moment. And we hear music in nature a lot, and so it seems like it's a part of nature, and I'm curious fascinated of how music and sound may affect the universe as we know it, or in certain like really giant ways that we may not know about, like the forming of galaxies or something, or how other other life forms, whether microbial or otherwise or more advanced, how music affects their way of life or culture, in certain ways. But I've always wondered, like, how has music really affected our evolutionary process?
Have you seen it's kind of random, but kind of speaking of what you said, have you seen, I think it's not The Sound of Music. It's a movie with Robin Williams in it. And there's like this little kid that he kind of I don't even remember what I watched
1 hour photo.
No. It's like it actually might have even been Robin Williams, but like he, like, the kid always like is like listening to like just the regular sounds of the world, like cars passing by, people talking, and like maybe a guy on the side of the street is playing the little drums, and maybe babies are crying, but like he'll listen to it and like find like solace in it, like it'll be like music to his ears, and that's kind of how he hears it, and he'll like start like tapping his feet and like kind of playing with it. I don't remember what fucking movie it is. If y'all know the movie,
making music out of the ambience of the world,
like, and just kind of he hears it that way,
finding rhythm and just existing.
Yeah, and I only think that's interesting just because of what you were saying, but like even I guess on a deeper level, like. I think about it like, what if, I think even if we couldn't hear, right, even just like the vibrations of like music would still be integrated within our life. Like how deaf people hear music or
like go to EDM. They'll go to EDM shows.
Yeah, they'll literally
and
feel
the bass.
Yeah. I think I can't really figure out a way to tie that into how it, it helps the evolution of or, plays a factor into the evolution of us, but in a way it does. I know how, but I don't know how, but I just know it does. It kind of has to. I feel like we wouldn't go without music. The world can't go without it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it would always emerge, even in like a M. Night Shyamalan, The Village situation, where it's like somebody has complete control of like a culture or a small town, and like music is just banned or whatever. Like it would feel like it would creep its way in.
Somewhere.
Like a rain dropping on the roof, and someone's like, wait, there's something to that. What is this? What am I feeling right now? Why do I want to like? It'd be interesting to see like how that would manifest itself over time, like just like a culture that is just no knowledge of music, and then just seeing how it naturally occurs over time without any external stimuli at all.
That would be a great like experiment.
That'd be very interesting. And something we would have to simulate because that'd be extremely immoral. More immoral to keep more immoral to keep music from people than like what they did in the village, where they're like, we would just live in the 18th century. I promise.
A random question, you can answer it or not. Would it be more immoral to keep music from people or fast food?
Oh, music. Because fast food's bad for you.
But
it's also, you should have the freedom to have nice food.
People love fast food.
Yeah, but you don't know what you don't love what you don't know exists or don't have or never had.
That's fair.
It's like if you go.
So you're saying like started from like they don't have it at all.
Yeah, if you give them McDonald's and you take away the McDonald's,
then
they will riot.
Yeah.
But if they never knew McDonald's existed and they just eating their graham crackers or whatever they're eating, just and they're just rice
plantain
or whatever.
Or some
and they're like,
yeah.
This is the best food because it's like a. It's like if you went back and it's like it's like asking somebody, can you imagine living in the 40s? I'm like not having an iPhone or whatever, or just like in like Europe or whatever, just like no technology. It's like you wouldn't be able to. Can you imagine it? It'd be impossible. It'd be like no, you would if you lived at any period in time. You would think you have the best that the world has because you did. You'd be inspired and like you're like, oh my gosh, did you hear somebody like made like a camera?
Yeah.
Like you have to sit there for like a half an hour, but like it exposes like the light, the protons from the light hit the film and it like slowly develops over time because of a chemical process. It's insane. We live in the future.
Yeah,
like
facts.
no, like he took a picture. It's like, what do you mean a picture? It's like an image of that person that you can carry around. They're like, what? Like no one's doing it like we're doing it right now. We're on top of the world. Like we have the crazy, and so I guess it just goes back to that, like if you give something, if you gave like people in the 50s iPhones and then took them away, and the whole internet that came with it, then they'd be upset.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
So as far as music would just be rough because that's just an intimate part of all human culture that you don't get to give or take away.
Yeah,
and it's something you can't take away from somebody.
Yeah, I bet that's honestly when it comes down to it. You break it down, like if you were like, all right, music or no iPhones, like, I don't know. I really don't know which one people would pick because I mean, like, I don't know. Music is everything to us. Like, if we had our iPhones, like, with no music, that kind of takes away damn near 40% of the reason you even use your phone to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I would probably definitely pick no iPhones, me personally, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to say that, though.
What does the concept of self mean to you? And do you see your music as an extension of your identity, or is it more of a separate entity that takes on a life of its own? Or there's like a dance between the two?
I think ask it one more time. One more time.
What does the concept of self mean to you?
Concept of self.
Do you see your music as an extension of your identity, or is it more of a separate entity that takes a life of its own, or is it a dance between the two?
So these motherfuckers were definitely custom tailored to but okay, so like for me the my identity or understanding of self essentially is like I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like I definitely have struggled with like identity in the past, like just like as a as a teenager and shit, as a young adult, you kind of don't really understand who you are, especially if you're not looking to figure that out. You kind of know the things you like. You like, oh, I like fucking video games. I like hot Cheetos, whatever. Like you know what you like, but you don't really understand what self means per se. But I think that process actually kind of reflects in my music for sure. As a I'm very vulnerable in my music, so like the it's definitely an extension of myself, but like I would say it's like I don't know if I would say it's like a separate entity, but it's definitely like, I'm not gonna say I'm not the same on a daily basis, but it kind of goes back to like that expression part of it, where it's like on a day-to-day basis, like, am I expressing like that, like how I do in my music? Hell no. Like that's the reason it's there, essentially for me, is to express, so as far as like they are separate but they're together. It's like just a piece of my life is over here, more than it is like, oh, like I'm Hoosier all the time. Like, nah, like I got a son, so I'm dad. I'm dad. You know what I'm saying? I got a girlfriend, so she don't call me fucking Hoosier. My brothers don't call me Hoosier. So like I have to like separate them because to me it's kind of like a, have you ever heard Beyonce say like her like Sasha Fierce, like, do you know what that is? It's like her alter ego, essentially, when she's performing or whatever. I kind of get that same thing going because it's like a extra boost of confidence, like when I'm rapping. Like it's like an extra boost of like, I don't even want to call it masculine energies, but just like my most pure energy of like, just like, this is just the raw version of me type deal. So I wouldn't say they're separate, but they're definitely it's like, take like your fist right here and just like a branch, like it's just a branch of me type of deal. It's not really my day-to-day version, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, I think we all kind of feel like we have to we either have to become a character or just be truly authentically ourselves. I feel like we either are authentically ourselves when we're on a track, or we like try to create a character, or we more often than not are authentically ourselves through a character we create.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, and because sometimes, I especially I feel like when I see people figuring out, their rap persona, sometimes it's like sometimes it's just genuinely them, but some people feel like, and it's not like they're putting on a mask or anything. It's or if it's like them being fake or whatever, it's a part of the process. It's because you want to curate this, what you're trying to communicate in a way that you think would be the best avenue or best vehicle in which for you to deliver it to your audience. And so, I mean, my gosh, like, can you imagine like if like Danny Brown delivered his like raps like monotone or like, you know, without like certain voices, or if like Weird Al wasn't who he was, like just like there's certain characters that are created that are so necessary to the artist. So, but there are just like people who I meet, you know, who are just, they're the same person, and like and usually that's very notable. Well, it's like you hear him like rap before, he's just like that in real life. You'll hear that's like he's like that actually. Like you see somebody like an actor or whatever, they're really like that, and you're like, really? Oh my gosh! I thought they were just being, you know, just the character, but it's like no, they're really like that. But some people, it's a nice like. It's nice to be able to turn on and off that. Like I feel like I'm still figuring out what I want to do when I create music as a solo artist, but I definitely feel like I step into a character that I've created. So it's like creating just a certain vehicle for this emotion that's like might be stilted or might be awkward if I delivered it as me, like how I present to everybody. But if I present it in this character, then you're able to kind of separate, like, you know, especially with friends and family, you know, if they hear you as the character, they're more able to hear you maybe, or it's easier to separate like the person, you know, from the artist. Because sometimes you kind of want to separate the two. Sometimes you want to bring them together, but it's nice to have that option and that parallel between the two. And
I think of two things when you say that. Like I always kind of thought of rapping, well, I ain't gonna say always, it's a little bit newer perspective, but like 2020 for the last few years I've realized rapping is very akin to wrestling, like very, very similar, because you create a character, and probably a lot of times the process that people don't see is that you create multiple, right, you know what I'm saying? You create a character that's like, okay, I'm this guy, like today, like this is like when I first started rapping, like I thought I was Future shit. I thought I could be, you know, something like that, and you know, I'm gonna rap in this way, and you know, that's gonna get me where I need to go or whatever. And then I'm like, nah, that's not really me. Let me try this fucking like young boy style of like, okay, this is kind of still who I am, you know, but this is like maybe the avenue I need to present myself as. Then it was like, okay, maybe I'm like TK type, but maybe I'm fucking Lil Uzi, like, you know, and it's like me going through these phases, and it's like none of them are sticking because, you know, it's just not who I am. It's like if Lil Uzi was fucking... Imagine Lil Uzi looked like J. Cole and was rapping the shit he's rapping, and J. Cole looked like Lil Uzi. Like, it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't work. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't make any sense. So I think we all try to, like, make the story, the look, the music, everything make sense. Yeah. And I think, for me, it's just, like, I didn't know how to be... Like, I clearly didn't know how to be anybody else because it just wasn't working for me. It wasn't fitting, you know? So I think that is definitely a struggle for artists. It's like, how do you find you? Like,
yeah. You mentioned, like we just talked about, or like finding your character or the vehicle in which you want to deliver but like as the artist. But then you just mentioned finding your sound is a whole nother thing. It's like once I find my character, the persona I want to be for my audience, or I just want to be myself, you know, what music or what sound now, and that's even harder. Almost, it's like that's really tough. It's like because you'll listen to a bunch of artists and you're like, I like this, but then you try it, and you're like, but it's not me though. I can't deliver my music or my art through this.
No,
Even though I like it and I appreciate it, and I kind of wish I could do it through this, it's just not. That's not how it's going to work.
Right.
And so that is a fun part of it, and is finding your unique sound. And sometimes what's great is when artists they really, and a lot of artists ultimately do end up carving their own unique puzzle piece, part of the sound or part of the the collective genre, and that's how we're getting subgenres being created left and right, because like as soon as you got digital audio interfaces that you could like fit in your pocket, like it was over. Like everybody's making music, and thank God for it. I've talked with people who are like, oh, great, now everybody can make music. But I'm on the team of, oh, great, everybody can make music. Thank goodness.
Okay, so I ask you then, like, in terms of like, sure how I want to ask this. In terms of like the oversaturation of music or just art in general, right? Which, when you really like think about like the freedom that it allows people to have, like that's why you should be like, like everyone should be able to make music,
try, fail, try again, maybe never go back to it, go crazy,
whatever you want to do, right? You should be able to do that. But there's a give and take with that, right? Because when you think back to like when the 80s, 90s, 70s, whatever, like before technology was what it is now, essentially. We had fucking superstars. Like we had fucking...
If you broke through, you were, I mean... just the biggest in the world.
Fucking Prince, Mike Jackson, Janet Jackson, Whitney Houston, fucking you can name any fucking rock band from the 70s, and you could look at their fucking shows, and there were 70,000 people outside, no phones, just just vibes, But really, like looking at these people, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this person, right? Yeah. But it's like now, because the accessibility is what it is now. It's like, bro, I have to see everybody. Like I'm forced to see everybody at this point.
Or only the ones you care about the most.
True. But even still, right? If I don't listen to Ian, like the rapper. He's kind of like, he wears the sweatpants. White dude wears sweatpants, gray sweatpants, white t-shirt, literally fucking everywhere. Like this just his look, right? And he's just like this regular suburban kid. He sounds like Future. I've never listened to him, but it was like, it gets pushed on you. Like, even Lil Yachty, I don't really... Like, I'll listen to some Lil Yachty, but, like, that's not really one of my favorite artists. But, like, people... The algorithm, or whether it's TikTok or whatever, like, they want you... This is who they want you to listen to. Lil Baby. These type of artists, they kind of force the superstardom on you, right? I was watching this shit about, Ice Spice, right? To everybody, when you look at Instagram, when you look at just social media, you're thinking, wow, this girl, she's clearly made it. Like, she's big, people love her, her music is everywhere, right? But when you look at, like, album sales and shit, right, and the shows and shit, people don't really be as popular as they're portrayed. You know what I mean? Sure. So it's like that actual superstardom, like, we don't have that anymore, because everyone can be their own main character, their own superstar. It's put in the people's hands and not like the industry's hands. Which, again, you can be on either side of the fence with that. I think I have a complicated look at that. I don't think people should be put on pedestals or like looked at differently than like a regular human being. Like, we shouldn't look at I don't know, we'll just say the baby differently than we look at each other. Like, they're still just a regular person, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't know, people should be appreciated for what they do too, and should get the appreciation that they deserve. Mike Jackson deserved to have the world behind him, because he created great music, Yeah.
I think oversaturation is necessary, inevitable as well. But but that besides that, why I think it is a net positive is that everybody can create music. Is that going back to 80s, 90s, 90% of artists who you heard on the radio were established in some way or almost like placed in that position because of who their parents were. You know, they worked in the industry
Nepo
already. And so the chances that you could make it yourself without already being established were way more difficult. Yeah. You had to find a studio, have the money to have a studio, to pay for the studio, and like have the know-how of how to record. You couldn't go online and say, when I go to the studio, what do I do? Because it didn't exist. Right. And, you know, you just have to go there. And so making art was it was discouraging even more then than it is now, because you'd see these people who there's like 8 artists or 12 artists that are just the biggest in the United States. And it's like, how could I ever possibly? But now, like, you know, you can see friends of yours like play big festivals, and you're like, it's closer. It's tangible. I can do that. And and approaching that, what's even more important is now people from all over the world, no matter where you come from, can see a representation of themselves and their culture within the music that they listen to because of how saturated it is. It's not just one person or this 5 people making this kind of music, and they can see themselves or people from their communities making that same music instead of just one person making it, and you know, feel like they can be a part of it as well, or feel just more accepted into that because of that amount of saturation.
Do you? I don't mean to turn the you know mics around or whatever, but do you feel like it takes away from the creativity of it though? Like
the creativity of
the creativity, and I say originality as well of it, because you know of the oversaturation.
Not only do I think it is good, not only think it is not bad for creativity, I think it is once again, a net positive for creativity. It breeds creativity because if you love a genre of music, say, let's just say rap. You and your friends listen to it, and your community listens to it, and now everybody in your neighborhood's making it, right? Imagine just everybody got a free recording studio in your whole neighborhood, and you're like, fuck. Talk about oversaturated. I got to. Well, what if everybody's making the same kind of music? It only calls for somebody to break the mold and change it forever. That's fair. And I think that happens naturally with every genre of music. Country music, what I will say, country music, you know, like but every genre of music is the same for a while. There's a trend that is established, and everybody in like super saturated. So in an environment where it's really super saturated, then the trend that's been set only lasts a certain amount of time, a smaller amount of time than it would have lasted if the trend was set when it wasn't as saturated. Not everybody and their mom could record on their Focusrite. Because that trend could last a long time because people could really, you know, there would only be like an album or 2 of that. And people would really want it. But now that it's so saturated, when a trend occurs in rap, country, whatever you can say, you know, it has a spark up and fizzle out time that's like pretty fast because you've heard it so many times. You'll hear it. It's like memes. A meme will come and it's the biggest meme in the world, and you're like, this is going to be around forever. 2 weeks later, it's gone and it's dead. And I think that happens with trends in music. So it's like everybody's music sounds the same. It's so oversaturated. And so it calls for, and it forces people to break the mold and be so different, and challenges them. It forces artists to break the mold, be completely different, and come out with something that is like people hear and be like, that's different. That's something we hear as a compliment. You sound different. And that's why I like you. And so people look for that, and I think it separates. It's a good way to separate, you know, the wheat from the chaff. If, you know, we all know and have friends who've made drill music just because it was fun and they wanted to do it and it was trendy, but like they didn't. But it sounded like everything else because they used the same YouTube beat
Right.
I can't tell you how many times like I'll go to YouTube and it'll be a YouTube beat I've already downloaded like 18 times. And it's like wow, just in Louisville, just at my studio, because there's tons of studios around here, just my studio have used the same beat 18 times. Can't imagine like how but that kind of helps it put all of that into one category. Like this is all the same beats, saying pretty much the same stuff, but localized to their community. It's a sort of thing that it breeds change because of how oversaturated it is. So I don't think I don't think it stifles creativity. I think it breeds creativity because you'd have to go crazy if like we were just sharing the same meme or listening to the same type of song for forever.
Yeah. When you put it that way, I more understand why you said what you said. Of course, because back in the day, fucking Thriller was gonna go crazy for I don't know 2 years, 3 years, 4 years,
and there wasn't immediately like 18 different like versions of Thriller that come out like the next week everywhere, because that happens now. Like an album come out, oh my god, it's like the Chappell Roan album's insane, holy shit, it's so different. And then like artists, because they can listen to it the day it comes out and immediately just let's go. Couple days later there's artists that sound exactly like that, and so that's how we can get kind of tired of it faster. Like a trend or an album back in the day, it's like this can last all year and we love it because it's only like this small amount. We're kind of get into it in pieces a little bit, and but if you can just like go on YouTube or BeatStars and just find like 1,000 beats that are all this trend, it's like, well, now I want something different again.
See, it's funny because I do agree like kind of what you're saying, but it's like we almost can't appreciate stuff for what it is sometimes now, because, for instance, right, Not Like Us has been playing, and it was playing
I never want to hear that song again.
Every fucking where, right? But it honestly, in terms of when you think of like how singles used to be, it wasn't even around that long, right? When I heard
how they used to be,
like even in the early 2000s, right? When I first heard fucking, I think, and I'm probably wrong about this, so don't quote me on this, but when I first heard like Graduation, or not Graduation, but the album, but like Flashing Lights from that from that album, it was like, oh. I'm hearing this song for fucking ever, like Better, Faster, Stronger. I'm hearing this song all fucking year until he finally decides to drop it. The album he announced a year ago, like, and it was like we could appreciate like the build up of stuff. You know what I mean? Like even and I'll go back to Kanye again. Whenever he did I think it was Runaway was the single for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yes, it was.
And he premiered it, I want to say it was either the Grammys or BET Awards or like something like that. He had like, I think it was a little bit after he had like said the shit about Taylor Swift or whatever, and like people weren't fucking with him a little bit. So that song for him was like kind of him coming back, and like not even coming back, but just like making people love him again, because he's just like putting out this great song with good visuals. Like I just feel like when things were able to have their time, like we can appreciate them, and like we can see the process of it. Like now for me, like as an artist, and I'm sure for you as well, or like other artists, like for instance, like I want to drop an album, right? I got the trailer, I got the music video. I want to get more music videos and things of that nature, and I want to roll it out in a way that's like, oh, it's like you get what I'm trying to portray here, but like I almost don't have time to do that. You know what I mean? Like I could drop my single, but like, shit, y'all gonna be tired of that shit by 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like, if I wanted that to be my single, like, shit, I gotta get y'all an album ASAP. Like, because that's
it's a different environment now.
You know what I mean? Like, we get to appreciate it for a week or two, and it's like, okay, like, so what? Like, but like you said though, it does breed people to create something different faster, you know,
Yeah.
and bring something different to the table faster, which I can appreciate.
Yeah,
sure.
it's sped up the process, and it's not only the amount of artists that are out there that are putting out music. If we bring it back, not 20 years ago now, but like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, back like 80s, 90s, you couldn't consume music as fast. Now it's so easy with your phone, you can immediately put it on, but if you want to listen to a record, you'd have to put it on.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's not just as simple as pressing play on your phone or putting in headphones. It's like a ceremonious event. You go put the record on and you put it on. You have to. You got your record listening to chair. Yeah, and you got your smoke and ready. It's like so you wouldn't hear it so often all the time. We can hear a song like 50 times in a day, just like passively through like when we're scrolling or something. It's like we'll hear it just all these times where back in the day it just wasn't like that. So I feel like it wasn't it wasn't like people are listening to the songs all the time. It's just like we heard a song when we hopped in the car and we heard it on the radio and we're like, oh my gosh, they're playing this song on the radio a lot, which felt like it's everywhere. Yeah. And then that's when it felt like it was everywhere. But now it's like, it's actually everywhere. Yeah. Because it's like, it's so intimately, because you're so intimate with your device. You know, you were as intimate with the car then as you are now. You're in it when you drive, but that's when you would hear the song or when you go out to eat, maybe you'd hear it when you're at the restaurant, you hear it on the radio. You're like, oh my gosh, this song's everywhere. I can't escape this song. You know, but now you like actually can't escape this song because it's everywhere. So I think it's the amount that we were consuming that we are consuming is, you know, completely gone up exponentially. And people want something new and different. So it does, it does speed up the process for like a rollout like that. You can't come out with you can, but it seems like it appears to be bad marketing to put out like a single and then wait like a month to put out anything else. Like and now it's like week 1 single, week 2 music video, week 3 photo shoot. You know, you have to put stuff out there, content constantly because people are people have become the consumers, the people from Wall-E. You know, they just sit there and they're just like I assume or this scroll past and it's like they want to see them, and the creators who do the best are the ones who upload the most.
Consistency,
it's not even about how much you upload. It is about how often. That is what we've all learned collectively, that the algorithm likes the most. It's not even the quality of your content. It's not about the length. It's about how often you post it. It's how often you are delivering it to your audience.
Which I will say, because of that,
it's terrible.
It does dwindle
the
down
most pressure.
The quality of great things. And that's why I brought up the older music.
That's why everything's shot on a phone.
Because when you hear... I want to give somebody other than Kanye, because I'm low-key a stan. I ain't going to lie to you. But I'll give you somebody other than Kanye. When you hear, like... let's say... Marvin Gaye for the first time. Okay. When you hear this guy's vocals over these like very instrument heavy like instrumentals or whatever, like you can hear the time it's taking for them to record what they're recording. You can feel it. You can feel that it was a very intimate, way of making this music, and it was put together carefully. You know, when you hear music now, like people can be, I think, because of technology, people can be quote unquote innovative a little bit faster, right? Like for instance, with the invention of autotune, which is actually a lot older than people think, but we'll just bring it up to like 2007, 2008. when people really started to implement it into their songs. Lil Wayne,
When
Kanye.
it was scaring the industry.
Yeah.
When people were like, it's going to ruin
when Jay-Z
music.
was like, "Death the auto-tune" and shit.
Yep.
But when we implemented that, that became a shortcut for motherfuckers who can't sing, like, to have a melody that feels good to the listener. And like when Kanye did it and T-Pain did it and shit like that, it felt like, wow, these guys are doing something so different, right?
Yes.
This is so, just like, I don't even understand how he sounds like that. But like now it's like everybody sounds like that. Everybody's auto-tuned out. You know what I'm saying? And like the difference between the two is like when you heard T-Pain doing this shit, it's like, oh, like he's like, it sounds, this is T-Pain's voice. Like this is what it feels like his voice is.
Yes.
When you hear Kanye do it, you can hear he's like putting a lot of emotion into, even with the auto-tune, like he's making it part of the music.
And Kanye often does it in a very different way. Often records auto-tune parts with an SM58 dynamic, like stage microphone instead of like a condenser microphone like these. It's a and will put his voice through like what would be like a guitar amp chain with auto-tune on it. And so it really comes across more visceral and less like a voice. And more of like just the frequency. And like and if you close your eyes and you like think, there's some parts that sound kind of like the guitar, and he's like trying to really make the voice an instrument that's like aiming. It's got to go through electric guitar chain. It's got to, because it's got to be a guitar amp or something he's going out of, because it's got that grit. It's not just high pass filter.
Right.
It's more than that. And so yeah, you can do it in your own way. But continue. I apologize.
No, you're good. But pretty much it was that. I just feel like people are able to, like, I'll give you another song, Walk in Poland or whatever, right? I don't know if that's actually, I think it's just called Poland. When you hear Lil Yachty's voice do like the, what is that called?
Ooh, that is called, oh my gosh.
It's almost like when you do this with the guitar or whatever, like make it whine a little bit.
Like tremolo. What the heck is that called? Wow, that's very unfortunate. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Wait. I'm pretty sure it's called tremolo on the auto-tune too, right? Or like...
No, it's not tremolo.
It's not humanized. It's not that. It's... Bro, I was just
That's
fucking...
killing me. It's on the plugin that I use all the time. Yeah, that's important. But I know what you're talking about.
But, he can... That almost sounded new to us, right? When we heard it. Because it's like, no one's really making their voice wobble like that. And... He did it, and it was ear-catching, and that's why when we heard Walk in Poland, it was kind of funny because it's the voice and shit, but, like, now that's something that, like, if, I don't, like I said, I'm not, like, a huge Lil Yachty fan, but, like, you hear some songs here and there where he's still using that now, like, where it's, like, kind of part of his brand now.
Yeah, part of his signature.
So eventually, we're going to probably, and if we haven't already... Here's some people just using that as the new way that they sound. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or if you've heard people that like use like the little small voice, like chipmunk voice as like their regular voice. Like
Frank Ocean.
Frank Ocean has done it. Phobats, if you know who that is, new artist. Someone else they're trying to like push on us. He's not bad, but he does that. It's like he doesn't use his real voice. I may be wrong. Do you know Pink Panthers?
Yeah.
I think that's her real voice, but it also sounds very pitched up.
It could be, yeah. But I think that's her. But yeah, she may have some stuff.
But but
there's definitely some voice manipulation that artists use all the time.
It becomes a sound, and I think what's good about shit like that sometimes though is like it doesn't work for everybody. So some people it does work for, and that's where we get like originality. Because I think she's pretty original. I like Pink Panthers a lot actually. But honestly, I lost the plot, so we can skip the.
You're good. You're good. So we were talking about how in the modern age, how it's changing the way we take in music and the way we make music with on this trajectory of how, things kind of were like slower paced,
Oh, yeah,
a trend starts, but it lasts a year. And, but now it seems like a trend starts and it's gone by the time you get home from work,
Yeah, facts,
and it seems like it's leading up to that. So where do you see where do you see this ending up at? Where do you think this is going to plateau, or do you think something large is going to change in the way that we create and develop music, or the way we take in music in general? Because I'm curious about what the future holds as far as ways that we consume music that is fundamentally different than how we even understand that we do it. That'll make the old way we consume music seem primitive. Like, just for example, like maybe having music, something that you take in as almost like an internal stimuli, like you experience it in your mind instead of outside, like by your ears.
You mean like a chip, like having a chip, or like, what's the fucking thing? Have you
Neuralink?
It's something like that. There's this other. It's where like you almost inject what you need to feel like in your body.
Shit.
Like if you need food or whatever. Like I don't know where it's from, but it's like people would like maybe take a pill that's like supposed to be food, right?
Yeah,
like,
I've seen that in some media before where it's like that takes all the joy out of like eating like a meal or whatever. That's Capsule Corp looking ass from Dragon Ball Z.
But as far as like where I see music going, that's a good question because there's really no telling.
It's hard to predict.
But I'll say it like what I see in the industry is that something that's pretty constant within people overall is that they're getting like pretty tired of just like the gimmick artist to a certain extent. Like people will hear something, they'll be like, oh, this is cool, and like you said, they'll get over it really fast. They'll be like, wow, you sounded the same in the last 20 songs, now we're tired of you. You know what I mean? Those people may keep their fans or whatever, but I think streaming, there's like nowhere else to go. Like as far as like streaming goes, like there's anybody who's like streaming music, or ever was gonna stream music or anything already is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And whoever wasn't is probably not going to. So like the way I see that is like streaming industry can't really get any bigger. You know what I mean? Like where else can you go? Where are you gonna just
can make it more intimate with the customer? I imagine like if Spotify sold a in-ear bud, right? But it's something that is like a permanent installation, and it's not a bud that you can see.
Would you want
it goes in here? I would want to see a bunch of people use it before I used it.
I wouldn't want Spotify in my ear all the time. Right. I promise you that.
But like I can see, or like say like just any company, Apple would probably be the one or whatever. Just like to make like the new AirPod is just something you can just like get just get injected or something right here, and then you can experience it even more, and like it and like. Yeah, I could see like you could they do that so you can experience like bass more. So it like is embedded in the cartilage of your ear. So like you experience like the low frequency tones like even more. You feel like the low frequencies and more. It's like
that's
you can
so
feel
extreme
the bass.
though.
It's like, extreme, but people we are extreme because like we live in a time when it's like nothing is off the table at all. Like that's like nothing is off the table of like what people are willing to do, willing to like. It would have been insane just I feel like as soon as the year 2000 started, but even in the year 2000, so we can say 20 years ago, it would be insane to think that people would have like key fobs injected into their hands or something. And that's like a
people
normal,
do that?
That's like,
That's a thing right now.
Oh yeah.
Why would you do that?
It's so you can start your car, open your house, open your phone,
what if you move?
over all the things like it's and you bring the thing with you, like the thing that unlocks your door with you, I guess, or it's like a thing you install, you pair it with
so
the
you
device.
Don't lose your keys
But
and
it's
shit. But like,
people
so
do
extreme.
that. They have like Amazon at Whole Foods has a thing that just reads your handprint. But they also have the chip thing that it can read as well in your hand. But so you can do 2 levels where you can go to Whole Foods and it'll just read your handprint and it knows your Amazon account and it just bills your Amazon account.
We've given too much data to these companies.
Yeah, we have.
We're done for. We're cooked. By the time I die and the time you die, they're gonna have a virtual version of you already. Yeah. Like they're making it right now.
Already do.
Yeah, they're making.
I'm serious. There's companies right now who will make. They will take audio. So you give them a bunch of information about grandma, and then you give them a bunch of vocals samples of your grandmother's voice, and they will deliver to you an AI of your grandmother with her voice. Ooh. Sounds exactly like her with like all these significant memories that she would know about. And so you can talk to grandma again. And that's right now.
I would not want to do that.
I don't want to do that. That's crazy. Yeah. That's creepy. I don't want that.
There.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
But people will do that for like celebrities. Like people want like celebrities will so more than it is now, intellectual property will be tied intimately with your personal information and identity. So your voice, that's the first one that's happening. The voice, because like we already know what's happening with AI voices. So we know that what's the first thing artists are going to try to do now and create laws to get passed by Congress is we need to know that our voice can't be used for other things. And I think that's going to be pushed really well and lobbied out quickly by record labels. Record labels are going to, because they're going to miss. They'd be like, wait, you can go on YouTube and listen to the Weeknd Freddie Mercury album, and it's amazing, but it uses his exact voice. It's like people are listening to the fake Weeknd album with like, the one with him and like whoever, like him and
I didn't know there were. I should have assumed there was
there
one.
is a Weeknd album, and it's a collab album with him and Freddie Mercury. I don't know who that is. That's the vocalist from Queen. Yeah. But for anybody who doesn't know, but that, and there's a one with him and there's a few other ones with him and some Selena.
Are they good songs?
Yes, they're very good songs.
That's not great.
No, I don't like that. I love them, but I listen to them like these are good. And they sound. I mean, it's because you have such, and like they get better because how the machine learning works is the more samples data that they have, and it's like for the Weeknd and Freddie Mercury, that sample set is large. Yeah. For grandma, you might have given them a small amount. It's only going to get so much, but that's why it can hit those notes and sound so intimately like that person.
What's crazy is, if I'm not incorrect, The Weeknd sold his catalog. Like I might be wrong about that. We can fact check that. But my point being, I think that is what is so important about, like, at least right now, being an independent artist, is that's the thing like we hold on to the most. It's like our independence within an industry that has pretty much treated artists like shit.
Yeah.
And I don't even just mean music. Like, we're talking about music, but like when you even think of like just the entertainment industry, period, like we're talking about big, rich people that run these companies that don't really give a fuck about how the product is made, just as long as it's made and it brings me something. You know what I mean? So I think it could go either way when it comes to like the AI shit, because like, I mean, some of these companies might be like, shit, dog, we own your catalog anyway. Like, shit, if you are done making music or you die or shit, you crash out and you become a drunk and all that, whatever a situation that would cause that person to no longer make music for that company.
We can still continue your career
we got
for
you. We let's and I'm sure
and that will be done with AI. It's like,
yeah,
it's like if somebody unfortunately passes away or something, if the record label owns so right now, and how it's always been is like, artists, make sure you own your masters.
Yeah.
Own your masters. Make sure now it's going to be make sure you own your intellectual property that is your voice.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the new thing. People are like, masters, whatever. But like, because masters don't matter if they have the right to make new songs with your voice. Yeah. And it's like, crazy. They can just, and so that is scary to think that, and it's like labels are like, oh, you love this artist and you're sad they passed away. Here's a posthumous album that we don't necessarily need to tell you is not them at all.
True.
They can just lie about that.
And we could get into some crazy shit, but I'll start with finishing like, as far as music goes, I will say, I think the general consensus is, at least with artists, is that artists kind of want the power now. Artists want to feel like they're important and valued within their art, and I think a lot of fans, or at least the right fans, can appreciate that and also relate with just wanting something that feels more real and connected. So I could see music kind of going back down that route because I don't really think the labels have too much more up their sleeve when it comes to like keeping independent artists from breaking the veil, or like getting past that like
breaking through the ceiling.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, as you said, it's oversaturated. So like everyone can make music, and if everyone's making music and some of these people are really fucking good, like, and they can just post the shit on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram by themselves, like, what the fuck can a label do about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, they have no power within that.
Yeah, what labels, even if a label does have a great artist's voice, intellectual property, and they're all set to go legally to make songs for them, trends end. Yeah. And who sets trends? Not the labels. Yeah. You can't. That's the reason, like, if labels in the first place could make the songs that make people feel the way they did, they wouldn't need the artists. Right. They can make, tons of copies of this, but at the end of the day, as you said, it's the artist, it's the kid sitting at home who has this idea out of nowhere and then posts it on TikTok. And that idea blows up and people resonate with it. And they're like, oh my God, that's what labels are trying to accomplish. That's what they want. That's what they're trying to tap into, but they can't. But so they no matter what, that will always be a constant. I believe that in my heart. There will always be young people somewhere who just break the mold because they just have a wild idea. And then they are now able to share it with the world, which is so amazing. Like, I can't imagine how many incredible ideas and pieces of art were just, sat on a hard drive or just sat in a notebook. Just all the incredible songs that were written just throughout time that just were not able to be shared with us because there was no networking involved. So it stayed in someone's notebook. The best song of all time is probably lost to us, like in a drawer somewhere. Facts. Or like it's just gone. It's like in a family's attic or something. And grandpa's old stuff from his grandpa before him or whatever wrote like the most beautiful piano piece. That's like they'll find like an old piece of sheet music and they're like, this is going to change the world. This changes hearts and minds. But back then it's just like, I liked it and I thought it was different, but what are you gonna do?
Let's make that a short film right there.
Yeah, that's a good idea because it really does talk about a time that people don't think about, where it's like it's easy for people to think like, well, there was just no good music made back then, but it wasn't accessible. You couldn't just post it online, and that's why books were kind of just slow to get around. Yeah. Like if somebody writes a really moving book and you hear about it through word of mouth eventually, and then you go to the library and you pick it up and you read it and you're like, okay. And that's I got to you eventually. But now you can post something right now and somebody in Japan picks up their phone, scrolling on TikTok, sees it just a few minutes later.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
insane.
Incredible. Within seconds. I mean, in the world that we're talking about, in which like we may make that movie or whatever, like that's just, it was not possible. But those ideas were still there. They just weren't able to be spread around like that. And so only like the most earth-shattering ideas could like really break the mold. But even then, because of how ideology works and how cultural differences were, a lot of those, if somebody had a radical idea when it came to music or philosophy or politics, whatever, more likely than not, because it was so different and was
destroyed.
It was destroyed or just othered and just told, like, pushed down, like, listen, bro, like it's so true. It's so true then. What's so opposite now, and is that the nail that's sticking up gets hammered in. But now it's the opposite. It's the nail that's sticking up is like the one that's like, it's the one that's noticed the most. It's not punished. It's not hammered down. It's brought up and celebrated because it's different than all the rest. Like, that is something that has changed, I think, in American ideology, especially, is that it used to be you want to kind of do what everyone else is doing. You know, you're still an individual. It's not like the group mindset or the homogenous mindset that you see in the East, where it's like, I want my family to do good. Yeah. We're all doing good. It's you still, I want to do good, but I want to do good the way everyone else is doing good and do the same thing they're doing. So people look and be like, he's doing what everybody else is doing. I like that. Yeah. Now it's celebrated to be like, they're doing different stuff. They're so weird and like just so far away from what's conventional that's celebrated. And I think that's amazing now. It is amazing. It is really good because like, just can imagine all the emotional stress it caused for people who were genuinely different, just weirdo artists, you know, that like if Kanye, you know, was born at a different time, like, you know, like Europe in like, you know, the 1600s or something, you know, he'd just be like, well, I feel crazy and I have something to say, but I just don't have a platform, or no one wants to hear what I have to say. But there's now people celebrate weirdo stuff, and like we have bands like 100 Gex and stuff that are just like, this is crazy, and I love that. It's just so out of pocket. I want old like ladies to like faint like when they hear this. I want this to upset like music that's just made to upset the older folks.
Yeah, and that's the good thing too about what you said. It's like there's tons of fucking subgenres, you know, tons of like, and not even just of music, just of people. Like, you know what I mean? So like when you create something different, there's always just like somebody that's there for it, you know? There's always somebody that can consume it on some level, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. It is pretty incredible how, you know, music, culture, film, and, you know, the way I think film has been slower to get crazy and weird, you know, but it has, certainly. Definitely. But, you know, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a great example of that. I teared up watching that, not because like of like an emotional moment or anything, but just the fact that I could tell that this was just a bunch of young guys who were just doing it. Like this, they low budget, but like really, I mean, just they were able to, because we live in the future, you can make a cinematic masterpiece with your friends. Yeah. True. Like with, you know, you don't have to have camera. You don't have to have night. You don't even have to have the black magic. You could have, you know, shot on iPhone, whatever. If you try hard enough, you know, you can make really great film. Like there are films, like theatrical films shot on like an A7 III or something. Like it's like the Sony cameras.
I'm not surprised about that either.
Yeah, like there's full films that have been shot on A7 III, and just you can do it with the stuff you have at home, because like. There isn't this great divide between the pro and the consumer. That's true. We now have what we've called and had since the early 2000s. There's the consumer market, then the professional market, and they were so far away. It's like you get a boombox that can record a tape to a tape consumer, and it's like, okay, that's cool. But then you'd have like the giant console rig. But now we have in between these two markets the prosumer market, where you'd like. It's way more expensive than the consumer, but it's not quite up here. So it's like, if you're talking microphones, you have like the AT2020, which is what we're talking about here. That's $100 microphone. That's like a consumer microphone, I feel. Then you have like things like the Shure SM7B, or that's still, I think, a consumer microphone, I feel like, even though it was used to record Thriller, for Christ's sakes, but it's $500. But if you get like the Neumann microphone, like the TLM 103, that's like $1,400 to $1,600. That's now getting out of consumer market and into prosumer market. But then you have the Sony CLGs, which are $10,000 microphones.
Yeah.
That has wiped out this market completely. It's who's spending at that $10,000 on a mic, and it's like, so
you can create something close to that.
But in this prosumer market, you can create things that are just as good, or if not better, by this. Sometimes this stuff is hindered. It hinders creativity. You know, sometimes it's the pickup and go equipment that is the best for a on-the-spot motivation. You know, something like, the cameras that we know, like the Sony Alpha series of cameras, are just iPhones in general. It's like you can pick it up and immediately shoot.
And start doing shit,
and you can squeeze them into tight spaces too. Like that's what I like about, shooting on iPhone sometimes is, or just like smaller cameras, you can get them in a really tight, small space where it's like your industry really professional cameras. They're like a whole rig tied to a dude. He's got the body strap and he's got a guy above him helping curate. It's like you can't really you can't run with that or like get or put it into a really tight space. So they all have their meaning, but I think it's just really, I think that prosumer market is where the magic is made, right? Really, and but there, I mean, excellent stuff, over here as well.
I would definitely agree with limitation can breed creation.
Absolutely.
For sure. I think one thing, like, kind of again that we can go back to is just like when you I'll say it like this. I've recorded in professional studios. I've recorded at home, right? I've come to figure, like, it just depends, really, like, just how I'm feeling. But I have come to figure that, like, sometimes that rawness of, like, a worse mic, you know what I mean, can almost represent a better understanding or feeling of a song.
Absolutely. It's the texture of the song.
Yeah,
It's the difference between Migos' song and a Griselda song.
Sounding like computed emotion, like just shit that sounds so industrious. Like, obviously it's going to sound good, but does it connect to you? It's all about connection. Does it?
And I think both of them are valid, for sure. True. Like the Migos song,
preference,
ultra polished, but it'd be like what you want to put on at the party.
Yeah,
because it's going to get everybody moving and going, and like, and they're going to dance to it. I talked to with Fadlan, the person I just
I know Fadlan.
I talked with him before you, and we talked about like the audience you're trying to reach. It's like the people who like at the club who like will shake ass to your song, and then the people who will like sit at home and be like, I love these lyrics. Right. This is like speaking to me. And then like the golden audience, like the person like Drake. The person who like will the person who will like the audience member who's like becomes a loyal fan for life is the person who's shaking ass and also listening to your lyrics and be like, this is making me dance, but I'm also like feeling you like in this way.
I think Drake has captured that market very well. He's like the golden child of that. Like being able to have people, well, at least I would say I ain't gonna say used to be, but like when you heard like I'll give you like any early Drake up to like I don't know. You can say Drake now, honestly. I don't really listen to Drake now, but like he's definitely one of those people that kind of, and I know that wasn't necessarily your point, but has captured both that like I really want to hear what you're saying, but I can also go dance to your music.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
But it's like
R&B's always tried to capture that. I think that's what R&B is a culmination of. Is like we want danceable music, but something that makes you feel something. And it started with a lot of songs about love, and romance, or the loss of love and romance. And I miss there was this golden age of time, and I hope we bring them back. But do you remember hearing songs by like the OJs or something, like where there's this period of time where they always break it down. And the guy would be like, listen, baby, and talk like directly to the audience. I know it's been a long time since I've been home. And they used to do that all the time. There's like a trend. I don't know why they stopped doing that, but I want to bring that back.
Because there's like, there's those moments.
It had to be like a trend. Or that's an example of a fad.
Where you definitely like that's like that not groovy, but just like that. Just a ladies' man type of
exactly. That's the ladies' man.
And I guess it became kind of like cornballish.
Oh, it definitely, yeah.
But,
there was a time in the studio where a band was doing it for like the 6th time, and they're like, all right, we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna talk right to him. Like, you're gonna talk to him again. It's like, yeah, are you gonna start with "Listen, Babe" again? It's like, yeah,
probably shit. Yeah. It's working.
Listen up, folks.
No,
hear that in the middle of a song. It's like, oh God, what is this? Like a YouTube ad? Oh man. So let's see where we're at here.
I like that shirt too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It is a hardcore band from Cincinnati.
Oh, tough.
Yeah, good friends of ours. What is one of the biggest challenges you've faced as an artist, and how did you overcome it? Because a lot of times artists, it's easy to talk about how something, went really well one time, but what's not talked about often is, overcoming certain challenges that artists have to face. Because I think as an artist, you have to, and just in the culture we have, like Instagram culture, you only put the most positive things, out there. But what's something that like people who may not be an artist themselves are trying to see, like kind of like, in the back end or behind the boards, like how it is, like what is something that you have to overcome as an artist, you feel like that is not really seen or viewed as much?
Yeah, I would probably say just like the battle with self-confidence. I think that's like probably the biggest one for artists, like at least one of them, besides figuring out how to do what you're doing. But like self-confidence is like, it starts there, It's like if you're not really confident in yourself, people will hear it in the music. They'll see it, and when you perform, like they'll see it when you're just trying to be you, and you're not presenting yourself the way you want to because you don't have the confidence to do so. I think that for me, at least personally, was one of the harder things because, as I told you earlier, like I had to kind of go through a few phases of like what type of artist I wanted to be, as well as like what type of person in general I wanted to be. I had to go through some phases of like trying different shit that made me feel like the best me. And once I found that kind of sound that made me feel like the best me, I had to be confident in that sound. I had to sharpen my pen a little bit to be like, okay, like I'm proud of this. Like I can listen to this 2 years from now and be like, yeah, I was still I was still doing good on that track. I did my thing on there or whatever. Like I can feel that way now. Like it wasn't always like that. I think I can't even tell nobody how to find that. I think that's definitely a personal battle, like there's so many, especially with the fact that there's so many artists, like, you mentioned the struggle of like an artist back in the day where it's like you pretty much only have, we can't really speak to it, but like Michael Jackson or somebody to look up to, it's like, wow, they're fucking massive. How will I ever be that, right? And that can deter you as an artist. Or it could have probably deterred them as an artist, but like now it's like you can see somebody from your same city.
You can see the stepping stones,
right?
To the top. You see the path,
yeah.
Instead of just seeing the end goal, the godlike last boss, which is Michael Jackson, like the industry. You get to see, you get to see the.
But I even still say like on that confidence level, there's things that you have to battle with, and I think especially as a rapper, because rapper has this certain masculinity to it, right? Even though obviously there's women that rap, but there's a certain like pissing contest that's always going on between whether it's the women with the other women or the men with the other men.
Seems like, there's like a inherent braggadocio that comes with
you
it.
kind of have to have some sort of confidence,
Yeah,
right?
confidence is the word I would use.
That
Yeah.
fucking, but it has to like extrude, like it has to like ooze out of you.
Yeah, it's not like,
know?
oh, they seem confident. It's like, oh, they're like, you
Yeah,
have to be like
they're
very
fucking,
present in your face.
You know, they're a rapper, like, or they're whatever they say that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, the confidence is the main thing. And I think when you see, sometimes as a local artist, you know, we don't want to be local, but when you see other local artists that are like, quote unquote, like doing better than you, maybe more fans, more, you know, likes on a poster, more shares, you know, more people at their shows, like you can build up this like fake animosity for other people that's like, oh, like they're not even that good, like I'm better than them. But it's like, to be fair, like everyone can be independent now, and it's kind of different when it comes to like fighting for your spot. But like,
it is well different.
You still kind of are fighting for your spot. So I won't say like competition's not there, because it is inherently, but like when you're looking at these other artists, sometimes it feels like you're being overlooked because they're being looked at. You know what I mean? And when I used to kind of like feel those ways, like, damn, like there's nobody rapping like me, whoop de whoop. But it's like, bruh, there's a time for everyone, whatever that may be, or whenever that may be, in whatever avenue that it may be in, or it may not be for you. But essentially, I guess what I'm saying is everyone has their own journey, you know? Everyone has their own way of like how things have been done for them. So that artist that, you know, or like whoever, insert artist here, that may feel jealous of that other artist, is like that same artist that you're jealous of or like hating on is going through shit too, and probably feels the same way that you might feel about him about another artist. And then the cycle is, you know, it branches off into everybody, because essentially artists are insecure to a certain extent and want people to love them, you know, want people to love their art, you know? So like when you really like kind of understand that and you break that down and like go through the elements of that, you can understand, okay, like they're dope just for what they do. And even if they're in my lane, like I can respect them as, you know, shit, competition, if it's competition, or just a peer, you know? But I can respect them and what they do because they are doing the same thing as me. But not only that, they're just trying to live out their dream too. You know what I mean? So like for me, when I recognize that, oh, okay, well then I can be behind all these artists. I can love all these artists the same as I love any other artist, you know, or any other human, because yeah, they're just doing what they love, you know, and that's what I'm doing. So now it's not even about everyone else. It's not about who's listening. It's not about the other rappers. It's not about who could sign me or whatever. It's like, do I love what I'm doing, and am I trying my best at it? You know, and that's where you'll find your confidence, when you start to like understand, oh, I'm building something for me. This is about, you know, what I love doing, my own passion. You know, there's other things that you give yourself out for. You know, again, if you're a brother, sister, whatever, like that you're giving yourself out for, but this piece of you is uniquely you. So you have to love it. And once you understand that, yeah, the confidence should be there. You know, if you're not confident after understanding all that, then, you know, there's just maybe a matter of you getting better at what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. You find your confidence in different ways, through validation, through yourself. I think really yourself is the way that, as you said, that's where your source should be. But yeah, I think rap is unique in that it does seem to call for more confidence than maybe some other genres would call for.
Definitely.
But I think that's what also makes it special is that it directly transmits that positive emotion of confidence onto others that listen to it almost immediately.
Yeah, it
as you said, it cannot. But I feel like
Depends
a
on
lot
how
of
you
people
look at
can
it.
share that
Yeah,
experience
for
where
sure.
they hear somebody being so confident in themselves that it brings that emotion to you. And so you find whenever you listen to your favorite rapper, you feel better about yourself and more positive about your experience and more hopeful about your experience.
Yeah.
And that's a really great gift to give somebody. I mean,
Definitely.
that's one of the greatest gifts you could give somebody is hope. You know, and no matter what their situation is, that's what makes rap music so special. It's like it's a very personal connection. It's not like this guitar riff makes me feel crazy. It's this person just inspired me to like keep going.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. And so I think that's people say like rap is so big with egos. I don't like it. It's like well you're not looking at it the right way. It's inspiring young people to believe in themselves.
Yeah. That is a great way of looking at it. And I even think about it in just like a funny way, like like I'm sure Louisville dudes can probably relate to. I'm sure any dude can probably relate to this. But like, ever been at work and like, you got your headphones in and like, there's a pretty girl or something that you fuck with or whatever, and a rap song comes on that just makes you like embody the rapper.
Yeah,
like now you're like rapping out loud and like what I'm saying, and trying to like
or give you the confidence to talk to her.
You know what I'm saying? Exude that confidence that the rapper has out loud. To where she sees you, it's like a mating call.
And you could like change lives where it's like someone could be at work and they hear the song and they see the girl and she's like, she's leaving. She just put her 2 weeks in. I can't talk to her. She's probably got the song comes on. And you're like,
you gotta go for it.
I'm gonna go for it. Ends up being your wife. You end up having kids. That kid ends up doing something crazy. Your song did that. You did that. And there's so many moments in life where when you put your art out there, you don't know how it's affecting people. You'll never know that your song inspired a marriage. And it's like, and a lot of times the people who, the husband who got the confidence to ask that person out, it's only until that you ask them or like make them think about it to where they'll be like, you're right. It wasn't until that song came on and I, got my heart racing a little bit and then like that gave me the confidence to ask her out. So you're right. If that song didn't come on, I wouldn't have. Right. And so it's crazy how, and that is the power of rap music there. And just in the lyricism and just like having the confidence to give on to others. So I don't think it's a negative thing at all. So as far as like, crafting and finding your sound moving forward, are there any new directions that you're exploring in your music that your listeners might be surprised by?
I'll say this. On a vocal level, I've always tried a lot of different things. I'll say like maybe not in the near future, but eventually people will be able to hear like I've done like Jersey club shit. I've done like not rock but like rock rap inspired shit. I've done some like La Dance songs. I love like indie music, so like I plan on trying that at some point. But I'll say for now, I'm just getting better lyrically, and I'm getting better like at telling my story with like detail and substance behind it, not just like surface level like, oh, I was sad once and now I'm okay. Like it's like, not that I rap like that anyway, but like I'm peeling different layers off as I go through life and as I learn more about myself and do self-reflecting and go through experiences that make me think about just me or think back on things. Like I'm just getting better in that aspect of things, and like also songwriting, which I think is super important. I think not just in like because I think sometimes people miss that part of it, where it's like sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm writing something really good because it has all my feelings into it, and which it can be good. Not to say that it's gonna be bad, but like when creating a song, not that people always have to like bop, dance to it or anything like that, but I think it's about being digestible, and like being listenable. Like, can I hear this song on the radio type of shit, or can I hear this song at my wedding or at a party or whatever? Like, people, I won't even speak to other people, but just me. Like, I'm getting better at like, okay, the concept is this of my song. So how can I put it into words that sit in people's ear well, and put it into maybe a melody that's sitting, or a flow, whatever it is that sits in people's ears well, to where they can digest it in a way that's like, oh, okay, like I can bop, but also like, oh, I understand what you're trying to tell me or what you're presenting to me. And I guess like forming a song that just don't lose the essence of what, what I'm saying, I'm trying to get across. So I would say I'm getting pretty good in that aspect. And that's like just like the best way I can put it. Oh, conceptually wise too. Definitely getting more into that and better at that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing that. I think, and thinking about that while you were saying that, I was thinking about just like what a gift it is to be a artist or just somebody in your craft in the journey. And I think it's just it's not often enough that we step back and be like, this is awesome, like this, like and appreciate the learning process of it, because like it would be a shame and just all for naught if like you just started in something and you were immediately a master, like,
right.
And that strange abstract concept where if you just like picked up the guitar and then you're immediately a god at it, it's like there's it would spoil the fun.
It's like growing up rich. It's like, I'm already rich. I didn't have to grind for this. That's
It spoils the fun of it. And like what life is all about is, overcoming adversity and like disciplining yourself and becoming a better person and becoming better at your craft and failing and learning from those failures and then coming back and applying those lessons you've learned. And so, and I definitely see, I definitely see that, with audiences and their artists that they follow. I think we all have artists that we followed for years that we'd love to see the glow up or the growth and how they've changed. Yeah. I think one that I bring up a bunch is Tyler, the Creator. Where he started and to like Flower Boy, it's like, what? Yeah. What is this the same? What in the world? And it's like, I see the growth. Yeah. It is very clear to see the growth. Sometimes it's more subtle. Yeah. Like, you see, and some people, it seems like they've been great forever. If I hear Black Thought, I'm like, it's been amazing since you came out of the womb, probably. Right. But it feels like he skipped ahead to, but with certain artists, we see the growth over time and we love to see that as an audience member. So it's not only something that, it's not even something that should be hidden. I feel like it's easy for artists to be like kind of ashamed of like, oh, I didn't know, like, listen to a song from the past that they've done, like they did a few years ago, and like, man, I really didn't know what I was doing. Like, I don't even relate to that song. I don't relate to that artist anymore. That's like not even me. But it's something that's like, that's always going to bring up that negative feeling that I don't relate to that person, and I was definitely learning. I don't know as much them. But you got to think of it from like people who love you, like your audience members or your family or your friends. They're gonna be like, wow, oh, I love seeing you grow. It's a positive. You see a positive thing because you were this. Now you're a better version of that because time went on. The most tragic thing that can happen to an artist is looking back at a song you made 5 years ago and be like,
I wish I could get back to that.
Exactly. That's the most tragic version of it, is looking back and being like, man, I was making way better music back then. But while it does initially bring up like a negative feeling, to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I released that song. God, that's awful. It's like, you're better now. Think about the alternative. Always think about the alternative.
I had that feeling though, of like, oh, I need to get back to that. Honestly, not that long ago, but it was like a passing by thought, kind of, or just like a pondering thought, where I was just like, kind of deciding where I wanted my music to go, and I was like, kind of listening to my old album, and I was like, wow, like, because it was kind of the moment where like, I guess people kind of respected me as an artist, as a rapper or whatever. And it was really one of the worst times of my life. So like, I really clung onto that like album a little bit, because it got me. It honestly didn't get me anything, like, but like, I guess respect, notoriety to a certain extent, where I had kind of first found that like, I'm gonna talk about some real shit now, type of deal. And I had that thought, but I was like, I had to like listen to some of my newer shit, and I was like, man, I'm like 10 times better than that now. But like, I'm still very proud of that work. But I could definitely, some of those songs I could be like, okay, this is definitely some bullshit to a certain extent. But I think, I think being able to look back at your music and know that you've gotten better, there's nothing like that. Because especially if you see like your lyrical growth or song making growth, as well as like your audience growth, you know what I'm saying, or like who you're reaching. So I think that's the best shit for sure.
Yeah, and it's important to know that, looking back and seeing like, oh my God, I made that terrible music, your audience sees it differently than you do, because you're your own worst critic.
Yeah, always, yeah.
And so your audience sees that in a affectionate way. They're like, oh my gosh, look at how much you've changed. You're totally different. And like, so the audience can be like, oh my gosh, you're a totally different artist now. Where you say the same sentence to yourself, oh my God, I'm a totally different artist now. Inflection's different, meaning's totally different. Same sentence though.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is something to be celebrated.
For sure.
And I think that people should be reminded more of that. Just you've made progress. You've grown.
For sure.
And it's okay. But the thing is with music is that, or with art, especially like an artist who, it's like they paint a picture and they're like, oh, I'm really proud of this, and then somebody buys it and they hang it up in their house, and it could be a family member supporting them. Your aunt hangs it in their house, and now it's in her house. A couple of years go by, you feel like much more confident than an artist, and then you have this reminder. You walk into your aunt's house, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have that on your wall too.
Yeah.
But back then you're like, yes, that's awesome. But it's like that. It's that same kind of thing. But she's like, look how much you've grown. It's a reminder that you are doing amazing, because you are doing even better. So when people will point to that picture on my wall and be like, oh, your nephew made that? It's like, yeah, he did, and you should see what he's doing now.
Yeah, facts.
Crazy, and it's a positive to her, negative to you, because it's a remind, but you got to think of from the different the aspects of that. And the same thing with music and any craft you do. If you're making chairs or something, and you get better. It's like, oh, can't believe I made that old piece of that back-breaking chair.
That's definitely the biggest message for anybody to take out of this is, I mean, like, you literally only get worse, or like your dreams don't come true if you stop. Like, if you keep going, you're bound to get better. Like,
absolutely.
So shit, just keep going. That's what I would say. Never stop.
Absolutely. And so I was going to ask, what is a piece of besides that? What is a piece of advice that you would give to a younger artist that you wish was told to you when you first got started, to help the next generation? Like, how? Besides that,
I mean, shit. I guess it would be believe in yourself. With anything you do, I mean, it's a free world. At the end of the day, like, there's so much going on in the world that it's easy to be distracted. It's easy to be discouraged. It's easy to feel like, it don't matter, like, what I'm doing, but one thing I know is that, we all have the power to make a change, whether that's in our immediate life, immediate circle, or shit, the world, So yeah, I would say believe in yourself. I remember this one show I did. I had performed a unreleased track, and it's about my son. And a audience member in the crowd came up to me after. I won't say a name, but they're, I know who they are and stuff. But came up to me, and they had like just kind of recently had their kid. And he was crying, he was crying. He was like telling me like, this is, like, it hit me, like, you know what I mean? And like, for me, when I made that song, I made it for, my son, but like me, just like a message to him, but it was for me, like, what I'm saying? It
became a powerful message for fathers.
Yeah, he received it in whatever way he received it, but in my mind, he received it in the way that I received it, or when I wrote it, you know what I'm saying? Like how I was understanding it as I'm writing it, I can listen to that song now and cry because, my relationship with my son. So I think people just, whatever you're doing, just like understand, like, you have the power to change somebody's life. You have the power to change someone's perspective. You have the power to, just help them through their day, whatever it is, like, just, I'll say it like I said earlier, be kind to everybody, be nice, be nice to yourself, treat yourself well, I think self-preservation, not like in a way of, it's either me or you, but like in a way that's like, I want to thrive as a person, I would always preach that, like, take care of yourself, love yourself, believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Yeah. And I totally agree. And with that being said, Hoosier, it was incredible having you on.
Definitely.
Main Character is available everywhere music is streamed, and the music video is out as well on YouTube. Where is the best place for fans to engage with you online?
God, I'll be honest with y'all. Instagram, but I really hate Instagram. But Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Like, if you comment, I'm gonna comment back. I'm not fucking Drake. I'm not nobody's. Like,
not gonna cool guy anybody.
Yeah, I'm pretty chill. So you can just hit me up. Like, if you want to talk about anything, I'm generally not. Yeah, I don't. Only people I ignore are like bots and shit. Everyone else gets a free pass to talk to me.
Well, good to know. And you have a performance with the Happy Bureau August 31st at Girls Burrito in Lexington. So I'm going to try to make it out there myself, just because I haven't been to that venue in a while. I'd love to see how it's changed. Because
you said the food's pretty good, right?
Yeah, the food is very good there. Yeah, but the kitchen closes early. It usually closes right a bit after the shows start. Like so 8? It's an important. So a pro tip for Girls Burritos is that you ask when their kitchen closes, because it might be right as the music starts, because they usually like to do that around that time. So, because I remember waiting until, because I was like, somebody told me food's really good, but I wanted to wait until like maybe after we played or something, but kitchen had closed, and like, this is a common thing. So if you want to order when you go to the show, order early. Yeah. So that means you go to the show early. For sure. Pack it out. Absolutely. But Hoosier, thank you so much for joining me for this. This was a really great one, and I hope more people are able to discover your music and art through this.
Thank you for
I think it is really something special.
For sure.
Awesome.